guys, my name's Adam and welcome to my new video. Today I'm gonna focus on this beautiful piece of technology, and that's my 2018 11-inch iPad Pro. This one was introduced back in November 2018, but to this day it's still the most recent flagship iPad, and we're still waiting for Apple to introduce its successor. I've had this iPad for a year now, so I've had plenty of time to test it, and today I'm gonna tell you if this iPad is still the best tablet your money can buy here in 2020. Here we go. When this iPad Pro was introduced, it was called the biggest change to Apple's tablet since the original iPad in 2010. And it definitely was a change. Apple finally got rid of the home button and made the bezels of the iPad much smaller and more symmetrical than ever before. The iPad got even thinner and lighter than its predecessor, and the whole design of the device was completely reimagined. The reduction of bezels allowed Apple to increase dimensions of the screen while keeping the same size of the device. So while the iPad Pro 2017 came with 10.5-inch screen, the iPad Pro 2018 came with 11-inch screen while being the same size. The iPad Pro 2018 is like all iPads, made from the glass on the front and the aluminum on the back, and the design of this device is truly incredible, and in my opinion, this is one of the best looking products Apple has ever made. iPad has always been all about a beautiful screen, and with this iPad Pro it's even more true than ever before. Like I said, Apple got rid of the bezels and the home button, and they used their new technology called Liquid Retina LCD in this panel. So even though this display is not an OLED screen like some of the newer iPhones, it's still one of the most beautiful screens I have ever seen, and they definitely pushed the LCD technology to its limits. This screen has great colors with deep blacks, and it can also get really bright. After a year of usage, this display looks the same. There's no burdens or anything weird, and for me the screen is for sure the biggest change from the previous iPad Pro. This display also supports fantastic ProMotion functionality, so the refresh rate of this screen can go up to 120 Hz. Unfortunately, this can't be shown on a video, but in a real-life usage it means that everything is buttery smooth, and I can only hope that this feature will make its way to this year's iPhone. With the removal of the home button, Apple had to find a new way of authentication instead of the old Touch ID fingerprint scanner. And they went the obvious way and implemented the Face ID sensor, the same one they used in the iPhone X and newer. Of course, they had to tweak the scanner to be able to scan your face both in a portrait and landscape mode. This feature is exclusive to the iPad, as you are not able to use this on your iPhone. In my experience, the Face ID scanner works fine, but to be honest, it's not as good as on the iPhone, and I don't know why that is. On the iPhone, I don't even think about a Face ID, because it's like it wasn't even there. It just works like every single time. On the iPad, it's like 80 or 85% of time. When I'm sitting at my desk, it usually works great, but when I want to use the iPad in a bed, for example, it sometimes struggles to scan my face, so Apple definitely needs to work on that. But unfortunately, I have no idea if it's the limitation of the hardware or if it can be fixed with a better software. Hardware and performance of this iPad is really one of its strong points. Even though this device was released back in 2018, it's still the most powerful tablet on the market, and Apple really future-proofed it with A12X CPU and 4GB of RAM. This CPU is so powerful that it even outperforms some new MacBook Pros. After 1 year of use, I haven't found a task that this iPad couldn't do because of its hardware. Apps open very quickly, you can edit large photos or 4K videos, and you can even play graphically intensive 3D games. I play Civilization 6 on this device very often, and to my surprise, this game runs better on my iPad than it does on my 2017 MacBook Pro. I think Apple really nailed their CPU game and made the iPad Pro a really great competition to Intel-based laptops. This iPad is also the first one to remove the Lightning port in favor of USB-C. I am personally in a minority of Lightning fans, but even I can appreciate the convenience of the USB Type-C. You can use so much more accessories with your iPad without needing a dongle to do so. And I can also charge an iPad with my MacBook charger, which is the fastest way to charge this iPad Pro. I just wish that Apple would make up their mind about their connectors and use just one type for all their devices. When we're talking about hardware, we can't forget battery. The one used in this 11-inch iPad Pro is a tiny bit smaller compared to the one in the 2017 10.5-inch iPad Pro, but Apple still declares their standard 10-hour battery life. In my experience, this iPad lasts a little less than the 2017 model, but it's not a big deal. It's still gonna last you full day no matter what, and it's still better than most of its competition. Also, one of the strong points of this device, and actually all iPads in general, is its standby time. When you're not using the device and you have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth turned off, it almost doesn't consume any energy at all, and you can leave it and come back to it a week later and it drops just few percent. That's really cool. Unfortunately, iPads do not have battery health feature, so you are not able to check the condition of your battery. I would love to have this on my iPad, and hopefully Apple will provide this feature in future iOS updates. This iPad originally came with iOS 12, but last year it received an update to the brand new iPad OS. This system brought a massive amount of changes to the iPad and made it much closer to being a true computer replacement. And because this is still the flagship iPad, it takes advantage of all new features introduced in the system. Whether it's a new home screen layout, dark mode, or all new multitasking features, this iPad can do it all. Currently, I am running a beta version of iPadOS 13.4, and it has been great so far. Over the past few months, Apple heavily focused on getting rid of the bugs, so I can say that the iPadOS is finally as stable and polished as the famous iOS 12 was. And I am really excited to see what Apple will introduce in June with iPadOS 14. And because of its really powerful hardware, I expect this iPad to receive many more iPadOS versions in the future. It can last up to 2024 or even beyond, so it will be really interesting to see how this iPad will age in the future, and I will make more videos about this one for sure. If you plan to replace your laptop with iPad, then you better look for some accessories. One of the most needed accessory, of course, is a keyboard. There are many great keyboard cases for iPad from companies like Bridge or Logitech, but I decided to use Apple's original Smart Keyboard Folio. It's definitely not the best keyboard you can find for your iPad, but I prefer it because it's really slim and it doesn't add almost any weight to your iPad. It also protects the whole tablet, the screen and the back of the device, which is really nice. Key travel is also fine, and I learned to type on this keyboard very quickly. It pairs via smart connector on the back of the iPad, so no manual connecting is needed. On the other hand, I would love for this keyboard to be backlighted, and would also appreciate some special keys like on the third-party keyboards, for example keys to change volume or brightness. This keyboard is also one of the most expensive ones. But if you care about design and weight, and you're used to MacBook keyboards for example, then it's the most obvious choice. With my iPad, I also purchased the second generation Apple Pencil, which is exclusive to this generation of iPad Pros. It finally magnetically connects to your iPad and charges at the same time. It also features tap sensitivity, so you can tap the side of the pencil and it will turn on the eraser or change the input options. I am not an artist, so I don't use the pencil that often, but when I need to do some precision editing or annotate or sign some documents, then this tool comes really handy. Unlike the Smart Keyboard, this one doesn't have almost any competition from the third parties. Of course, there are some styluses available for the iPad Pro, but none of them are as good as the Apple Pencil is. So how how is this iPad holding up almost a year and a half after its release? In my opinion, absolutely great. It's crazy that in the past year, no other company could outdone Apple in a tablet market. Of course, Microsoft has a great lineup of Surface devices, and Samsung makes pretty good Android tablets, but overall, the iPad is still the #1 device in this category. And it's also because of fantastic app support, easy-to-use operating system, and perfect integration with other Apple products. I have owned several iPads over the past decade, but this one is my favorite one yet, and it is also one of the best Apple products I have ever used. It's got an awesome design, top-class display, and the performance is just out of this world. But it's not flawless. I would love to see improvements to Face ID and battery in the next Pro iPads. But other than that, I like this device so much and I use it daily for everything I do, and in 95% of the time, I can do the same things as I do on my MacBook, which is a statement to how much iPads have evolved since its early days. And what do you guys think about the iPads? Do you own one? And what do you think about iPad being a laptop replacement? Write me in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.